Welcome. In today's installment, we're going to go over the general premise regarding sovereignty and autonomy. This is going to be a little involved, so I'm expecting this to span more than one clip. May expand to 3 or 4, depending. The general premise, or foundational premise, that I will be operating from is that sovereignty is an inherent attribute that one is born with, that you then learn how to exercise practically throughout the course of your life. That said, that would mean that no one can give you your sovereignty. It's inherent. It's an inherent attribute. You already have it just by virtue of being born, and it's simply a matter of you learning how to exercise it. And this doesn't preclude other people from making a decision to attempt to enslave other people. So it's a general fundamental principle that we're dealing with. On the basis of that, this would also mean that there's a range of flexibility as to how each individual is going to exercise their personal sovereignty. This opens the way for a variety of techniques, ideas, adaptation based on different situations and circumstances. So it would be very interesting to see all of us get together and compare notes in our practical application once we've gotten the fundamentals and the essential principles. Those principles that are universally applicable to everyone. Once we've gotten that down. But I really wanted to get the essentials out of the way so that we don't have this debate about people believing that there is only one particular way to achieve the practical day-to-day exercise of their personal sovereignty in terms of, oh, you have to file certain paperwork, and if it isn't right, you're not doing it properly, or any of that nonsense, because there are other people that, depending on their circumstances, they don't have to file a single thing with anybody. They simply do what they do. They get the results they get, and they live freely. Whereas circumstances for other people may require them to file some very fancy paperwork and have it delivered to certain people to adjust the perceptions of whoever it is that they're dealing with. And I would think that between those two extremes, I think that most people would fall somewhere in the middle. So we're going to thoroughly explore that. But that said, one thing that we are not going to be getting into is people figuring that they can use this information to solve one particular problem, but not take the holistic approach in terms of the day-to-day practical application at all times. Okay, just to give you guys a little example, because I know that metaphor might have gone over someone's head. Something as simple as the reinforcement of your of one's identity, living in a sovereign capacity. could be something as simple as simply having everything in your wallet be congruent in terms of your sovereign name that you picked out for yourself, or that you may have gotten through a naming ceremony. Something as simple as all the debit cards are in that name. Your library cards are in that name. The bills that come to your apartment or the house that you maintain where you live are in your sovereign name and reinforce your sovereign identity. All of the contracts that you sign or negotiate are in your sovereign name, and you function in your sovereign identity when you negotiate those contracts. I'll be going into some additional detail regarding that particular aspect in a different video. But that's what I mean by holistic, as opposed to the disruption and confusion and potential problems that an individual could be bringing upon themselves by running around with documentation in 2 or 3 different names at the same time. And then wondering why that friendly local law enforcement officer wants to hold you physically for further investigation. Because of the confusion they're seeing, where the ID is in one name and then you have other documentation in another name, and then yet other material in yet another name. Yeah, not the business. Especially in the paranoid times of post the destruction of the Twin Towers in New York City. But that said, just to reiterate, essential principle, sovereignty is a natural attribute. You are born with it. You are born free. It is simply a matter of you learning how to live free, how to interact with your fellow human beings in order to have the kind of lifestyle where you can exercise the greatest amount of autonomy while respecting the personal sovereignty and autonomy of other people that you deal with, even if, and especially if, they don't understand themselves. Even if, and in spite of, the very real possibility that the people around you may be volunteering themselves into slavery. That said, I welcome any questions, comments, ideas. I'm really going to be taking my time with this because there's a lot of information. My own personal study goes back at least 13 or 14 years. So I'll really be taking my time with this before moving on to a lot of the practical day-to-day issues. A lot of examples I'll be discussing from my own personal experience, and some of it be from other people's experiences and other research. But just to keep it simple, the essentials. You are born free, and you spend the rest of your life learning how to live free. Hopefully. Provided that you're not born into a system of systematic enslavement, but that's a whole nother story. But we'll get to that. That said, this is Project Ultron 5, signing out.